December 21st, 2020. A date to remember: the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. Look up at the western sky in the early evening this month. If it is clear, you can see Jupiter and Saturn near one another in the western evening sky. In a pair of binoculars, you can see the largest moons of Jupiter and the vague presence of the rings of Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn are coming together in December 2020. In the early evening this December, we see the light from Jupiter's daytime surface brightly in our sky. Jupiter is 5 times further from the Sun than the Earth. And here, tiny little thing, is Europa, one of the largest moons of Jupiter, about the size of our moon. Notice how small it is compared to the planet Jupiter. Saturn is seen near Jupiter this month. Here it is from Cassini spacecraft. Saturn is 10 times further from the Sun than the Earth. In April 2020, from our Earth point of view, we could see Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter in the pre-dawn sky. If you were up before dawn in the spring, you could see bright planets stretched across the sky. There's the Moon, and Mars, and Saturn, and Jupiter. Through the late summer and the fall, the planets were hidden in the Earth's bright daytime sky. But now they appear in the evening again, this time in the western sky. All the planets orbit in the same direction around the Sun. The closer a planet is to the Sun, the faster it orbits. Jupiter is orbiting in the same direction as Saturn, but much faster, because it is much closer to the Sun. Earth orbits the Sun in 1 year, Mars in almost 2 years. Then there's the asteroid belt, and then we move to the outer solar system, with Jupiter orbiting in about 12 years, 11.9, and Saturn in almost 30 years, 29.5. Occasionally, 2 planets are seen close together in the same part of the sky. This is a conjunction. Here is an example of a past conjunction. Jupiter and Venus are millions of miles apart. They look close together because they are in the same line of sight. Venus is brighter because it is much closer to the Earth. This month, Jupiter and Saturn will make a very rare conjunction. They will appear from the Earth closer to each other in the night sky than they have for hundreds of years. On the night of the winter solstice, December 21st, they will look to be at their closest, like this, or the planets may be so close together in our line of sight that they may look like a single star, like this. Jupiter and Saturn are 0.1 degrees apart from our vantage point on Earth. This is about the thickness of a dime held at arm's length. The 2 planets are more than 400 million miles apart, each in its own orbit. We see them together because they are in the same line of sight from Earth. How often does this happen? This great planetary conjunction of Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn happens about every 20 years. The light of the sun makes most of them impossible to witness. A conjunction this special is a once-in-a-lifetime event. This year, Jupiter and Saturn will appear closer to each other in the night sky than they have for hundreds of years, since 1226. Astronomer Johannes Kepler, who first described the orbits of the planets around the Sun, suggested that the Star of Bethlehem, that led the wise men to the birthplace of Jesus, might have been a great conjunction, like the conjunction appearing this month. Just after dark, look for Jupiter and Saturn low in the southwest in the hour after sunset. Don't trust our weather. See the lead up in the western sky on the days before the December conjunction, and the separation on the days after. The actual conjunction will be visible on the night of the winter solstice, December 21st. It will be low in the western sky and very bright. You do not need binoculars or a telescope, although you may see more detail using them. After the winter solstice, the two planets will appear to begin moving apart. The next time a very close visible conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn will occur is in 2080.